Hello once again everyone. Welcome to the fourth video for the lesson plants form function. This is going to be the final video, and in this video we're going to learn about the structure, the function and the modifications of the flowers of the plant. So far we have seen about the structure, the modifications and the functions of the stem, the root and the leaves. So let's go right into the video. The flower is the reproductive part of the plant. What do we mean by reproduction? Reproduction is the process by which an organism, a living organism, produces more of the same type, more numbers of their same type. So the flower is a reproductive part, and in higher organisms, be plants or animals, reproductive parts will have two types, that is a male part as well as a female part. Um, Plants are also no different in this. In plants, the flowers also have two parts, the male part as well as a female part. So the male part of the flower is what we call as the stamen. Stamen is a male part. And the female part of the flower is what we call as the pistil or the carpel. The pistil or the carpel. There are two different names. There are actually three different names, but you need to remember only so much. Pistil or the carpel is the female part of the plant. Both are correct usages. There are three different parts for the pistil, that is the stigma, the style and the ovary, and the stamen or the male part is divided into the filament or the anther. You will learn more about each and every single part of these in some detail later. The flower also consists of the bright colorful part, which is none other than the petal. And when the flower is a bud, you must have seen flowers bloom. So the flower is first a flower bud. So when the flower is a bud, it is protected by certain green uh, structures, petal-like structures, and these are called as the sepal. The sepal is green in color, which means that sepals contain chlorophyll and they can photosynthesize. The function of the sepal is to protect the flower when it is still a bud. Now, let us dissect or let us see what are the different parts of the flower. The flowers contain four whorls. Whorls means circles, right? So the outermost whorl of the flower is the sepal. The green sepals form the outermost whorl of flowers. Inner to the sepal is the most colorful part of the flower, that is the colorful petals. The purple part of the flower is of this flower forms the petals. Inner to the petals comes the male part of the flower, that is a stamen, and we have already seen that the stamen is made up of two parts, that is a filament and the anther. And in the central part of the flower is the female part, that is the pistil or the carpel. The pistil or the carpel, we can learn more about this structure by dissecting or cutting the flower in a longitudinal way. That is, you take a blade, you take a flower and then cut through the flower's stalk lengthwise. Carefully, you need to cut through the flower stalk lengthwise, and you will end up looking into the flower's central part. And here we can see the further parts of um, the pistil or the carpel, that is a female part of the plant. So this is the only part of the flower which has hidden parts, that is, which is not directly visible to the eye. There is the ovary, which is protected by all the other whorls, the sepal and the petal, and then the ovary is connected through a tube-like structure, that is the style, to the outermost part of the pistil or the carpel, which is called as a stigma. The stigma is very sticky, right? It is sticky for a certain purpose, which I will explain in a few minutes. Coming back to the structure of the flower, as we have seen, the stamen is made up of the filament and the anther. The anther of the flower, it actually has 2 or 3 lobe-like structures that it just has some parts in it, and it is filled with a powdery yellowish substance. If you take a flower and you tap it, a kind of yellow powdery substance falls out of it. It comes from the anther. Substance is called as pollen or pollen grain. And when the pollen grain is transferred to the sticky stigma of the pistil or the carpel, this process is what is called as pollination. This process is what is called as pollination. So how does this transfer take place? Let's take a look. We have learned about the 4 whorls of the flower: the sepal, the petal, the stamen, and the pistil or the carpel. But not all flowers have all 4 whorls. In some flowers, either the pistil or the stamen might be missing. If a plant has flowers which have all 4 whorls, such plants have are said to have complete flowers. That is, they have all 4 whorls or of parts. They have the sepal, the petal, the stamen, as well as the pistil. In some plants, they have incomplete flowers. That is, they have 2 types of flower. One flower will have only the sepal, the petal, and the stamen, and another type of plant will have only the sepal, the petal, and the carpel or the pistil. That is a female part. But if for plants which have incomplete flowers, not a single flower will have both the pistil as well as a stamen. So I hope you have understood the difference between complete and incomplete flowers. Flowers which have all 4 whorls of parts are called as complete flowers. Flowers which lack one or more of the whorls, they are called as incomplete flowers. Let's take a closer look. So as you can see, complete flowers have all 4 whorls. Incomplete flowers can have a male flower without the ovary, without the stigma, but only with the stamen. The female flowers will not have the stamen, but will have an ovary, will have the style and the stigma. That is the pistil or the carpel, along with the sepal and the petal. But the stamen will be missing. Okay. Now let's take another look at complete and incomplete flowers. As you can see, this is a lily, and it is a complete flower because it has a stigma, as you can see over here. It has a stigma style which is connected to the ovary, and it also has the stamen which has the filament and the anther. An example of plant having incomplete flowers is cucumber. The flowers of the cucumber plant will either be male or female, but never both. And this is how the male flower of the cucumber plant would look like. You can see the filament and the anther is full of pollen grains. This is the female of the cucumber plant, has the stigma, which is the sticky part. This is a style. This is the ovary. Another example is pumpkin flowers. Pumpkin flowers also are incomplete flowers which have a male as well as a female flower. Here you can see that the ovary of the female flower has been dissected or cut open to show you. And you can see some small structures inside the ovary. These are called as ovules. These structures are called as ovules. Let's take a look at the pollen in the anther. So as I told you, the stamen has the filament and the anther. You can see that the anther has certain lobes over here. 1, 2, you can count visually. You can count around 3 to 4 lobes in these anthers. And they are covered by the yellow grainy substance, which is called as pollen. It is called as pollen or pollen grain. It's very powdery and it's very light, and it can easily be carried by the wind, by water, or by insects which come to the flowers to suck the nectar. So plants can reproduce, that is, it can produce seeds. How do plants reproduce? By producing seeds. Only if the pollen grains reach the stigma of flowers of the same type. And this process by which the pollen grains get transferred to the stigma is called as the process of pollination. Now maybe you are able to guess why plants have flowers with such bright and beautifully colored petals. Why do you think? Yes, it is to attract insects and to allow for the process of pollination. So the purpose of the flowers being so bright, beautiful, with beautiful fragrance, attractive fragrance, as well as sweet nectar in them, is to call out to insects, especially the bees, to please come and visit the flower so that the pollen grains can stick to the sticky hair of the insects and get transferred to the stigma of other flowers of the same kind that they might visit. So the attractive colors and scents of the flowers attract insects, and the transfer of pollen grains can happen through wind and water in aquatic plants. So in aquatic plants, as you may guess, since pollination already takes place through either wind or water, and the flowers do not have to spend a lot of energy to produce a brightly colored petals and the lovely fragrance to attract the insects, such plants will not look very attractive. So in other plants where the pollination has to take place through insects, the insects, birds, and bats are the main pollinators. So what are they called? They're called as the pollinators, through which the process of pollination takes place. Now, when we talk about pollination, the process of pollination can be of two types. As we have seen in the lily, in the hibiscus flower, they are all complete flowers. The stamen as well as the pistil are present in the same flower. So in these cases, the pollen can come loose from the stamen easily, and then it can be, they can fall onto the stigma of the same flower because of wind action or because of slight movement, and this is called as self-pollination. But in some cases, the flowers are visited by the insects such as bees. The pollen grains stick to the hairy legs of the insects, that is a bee, and then the pollen grains are carried by the bee while it is visiting another flower to suck the nectar, and the bee unknowingly deposits the pollen grains on the stigma of the second flower. So this is called as cross pollination, and it is following this process of pollination that the development of seed takes place in the flower. So following this, the development of seed takes place, the flower transforms into a fruit, the petals fall off, and the fruit, we get the wonderful fruit or the vegetable that we eat. If the bee disappeared off the face of the earth, man would have only 4 years left to live. This was said by Albert Einstein. Don't know if that is an exaggeration or not, but it could be a possibility, as the honeybee is the main pollinator, and if we run out of honeybees, then the process of pollination will not take place. Honeybees are the best pollinators because they are continuously looking for nectar, which is produced by the flowers to produce their precious honey. So what are the functions of the leaf? Flower. The flowers bear reproductive structures, that is the pistil and the stamen. The flowers are also modified to store food in some cases, like cauliflower, broccoli. The flowers produce nectar which attract pollinators, which we have already seen. And we have also learnt about some flower parts which are used as spices. Could you guess some examples? Yes, the saffron, the stamen of the saffron flower is what we use as saffron. It is one of the most expensive spices in the world. And cloves are actually the flower buds of the flower. Let's take a look at how the flower transforms into the fruit after the process of pollination. So once the process of pollination takes place, the ovules inside the ovary of the flower, they transform to form the seed. This is how an apple develops from the apple flower. And the ovary, that is the whole vessel which carries the ovule, part of the fruit. So the ovule transforms to form the seeds, and the ovary transforms to form the fruit, which protects the seed and which makes sure that some animal is going to come and pick up this fruit and eat it, so that the seeds can be dispersed into the environment. All right. So, children, that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you have understood all the concepts that we have learned about in this lesson. So, keep learning, and you can put any doubts or any questions you have in the comment section too. All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Keep learning.